All right, good morning or good afternoon, everybody. This is Brian Zawad. I'm the president of the U.S. chapter for the BCI, and welcome to our 2017 annual general meeting for the chapter. Just so everyone's aware, I do have everybody muted at this point in time, but I will unmute at the end of the session to address any comments or questions, as well as other times strategically throughout the session. So if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and mute yourselves just in case when I do take everybody off of mute. That would be helpful. Also, just to make everyone aware, this meeting this presentation is being recorded, and so it will be made available at the end on our website, as I'll mention later on in the presentation. Okay, so with that, I'll go ahead and get started. And again, this will be the agenda that we'll be focusing on. So obviously doing the agenda review right now. Our first topic will be around the U.S. chapter financials. And so what we'll do here is introduce that today. We will follow up and do an email with the specifics around the financials and ask for our members to go ahead and either ask questions or go ahead and either approve or disapprove the financials, which will be noted in our minutes during our next board meeting. So that will be a follow-up afterwards, so we won't be doing a polling in this meeting per se. Then I'll go ahead and introduce the election results in the 2017-2018 chapter board members who will begin their term immediately after this AGM. Then I'll go into the chapter membership statistics and give you an idea of where we stand for total members as well as certified members. And from there, we'll kind of talk through a little bit of our key, a little bit on our key focus areas, key initiatives, and really kind of an excerpt of the business plan that we've been executing over the last 12 months, which will be carried over into our next fiscal year. And again, looking at key areas of focus, and then we'll have open discussion at the end. And again, just as a reminder, this will be recorded to include the question and answer session at the end. Okay, so first off, just to give you an idea of who our board was over the last 12 months, in addition to myself, there were a total of 9 elected board members, 1 appointed executive director, and we also had 1 open position due to a resignation towards the beginning of the year due to an employment change. So this gives you an idea of the 4 officers and the remaining people that served on the U.S. chapter board for this year. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is transition to a look at the financials. Again, we will email these out to the entire chapter at the end, but what I'll do here to start with is ask Alice to go ahead and give us kind of the overview. And Alice, when you're ready for me to go to the second slide, just go ahead and let me know. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brian. Hello, everyone. As you can see here, we've had a healthy year so far with BCI USA Chapter. We started out the year with a balance of $36,000, just over. And through the year, we've had 2 primary income sources, well, really 1 main income source, and that is from BCI Central Office. Our funds do come through the central office as a result of the membership dues that and training revenue that comes through the organization. We've received half of that allotment for the year so far, and do have on the books to receive the remaining half at the end of this year. So we received a total of $21,726 in income. The chapter administration item there is a reimbursement of the liability insurance that you'll see in the following slide when we go to that. Then on our expenses, we did have some hefty expenses, but that was all towards growing the organization and growing our presence in the U.S. For chapter administration, we'll go into the details here in a moment. The events in New York City, we did some pilot events, an author series, and some other events going on in New York City to really tap into that rich market. So you'll learn a little bit more about the success of that, but that is reflecting those expenses. And then the remainder of our expenses focused on supporting the industry conferences in the U.S. So a total of expenses of just over $31,000. So that leaves us with an ending balance at the end of September of $26,406.23. So to be precise. If you go on to the next slide, please, Brian. Thank you. As I mentioned, with chapter administration, we were doing some things within the chapter to help better manage the organization. I already mentioned about the liability insurance. That's just due diligence, given the type of organization we have at the cost of doing business. And like I said before, we are reimbursed from the head office for that. In February, we met in a face-to-face meeting with all of the board members. This has been a huge benefit to getting momentum into the year. You'll hear more about that as Brian goes through the rest of the presentation. But as you can see, there is a cost of doing that. We did do our best to curtail those costs. Next, another thing that we tried doing, and again, Brian will share more details, is using traction tools and using a lot of management type processes, methodologies. When it was a trial run, and that's what the cost of the subscription was. We have now stepped away from that because it didn't prove to be effective for managing our meetings, but it did help us in defining our vision. So like I said, Brian will speak more to that. Volunteer support. What we did here is we've had very active engagement from volunteers this year. It's been a huge help in our communications and supporting the industry conferences. And part of our commitment to volunteers was to pay that back for their time and commitment as not being a board member. And what we did here is we had approved to pay for them to attend a couple of classes, and that's what is reflected here in this amount. Industry conferences. What you're seeing here is the expenses that were incurred from the local chapter. This was just what our direct local expenses were to send BCI members to the events, to man the booth, to help spread the word about BCI and just cover the events and all that goes into representing an organization at a national conference. What you don't see reflected here is the huge commitment from BCI head office that went into paying for those sponsorships, to pay for the booth space, pay for the attendance of all the members that attended serving the BCI. That total cost is in the realm of around $60,000 annually. So it's a significant cost, but you're not seeing that reflected here in the financials because that cost is carried by the head office. But we do incur the local expenses for travel and lodging and other event expenses that we incur to support these events. One thing to note on Spring World, we did do a photo booth, which was very well received. That increased our expenses for Spring World. And then Fall World, there is an amount of just over $1,000 included for the $1,000 Amex gift card that we gave off as a raffle. And head office will be reimbursing us for that expense. So our total expenses for member support in 2017 will go down by roughly $1,000. But this was just to provide a little bit more insight into what those charges are, and also to put in perspective that while this is what is being incurred locally, there's significant funds being supported at the central office level. Anything else that you'd like me to cover, Brian, at this time?
No, I think that's great, Allison. Thank you for putting that together. And as I mentioned, we will certainly can answer any questions here at the end of our presentation. And we will be following up with an email with the more detailed financials and asking for any feedback at that time or any questions that we certainly can answer along the way. So thank you, Alice. Appreciate the overview.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, so as I mentioned in our 2016-2017 chapter board introduction, we had a total of 10 elected members, 1 appointed executive director, and 1 opening. So again, 10 of the 11 voting members were on the board here over the last, I guess, 10 to 11 months. And so we've just completed our election process that was announced around the DRJ timeframe. And to give you a sense of what we'll be looking like here going forward in the next 12 months, first off, Frank, Lisa, and Lori were the three that were elected as voting board members. Now, Frank was the executive director, the non-voting member previously, but the three of them make up the elected board members for this year, serving a 3-year term. We did meet yesterday as a board, so I will be stepping down, as will John Jackson, and that's why we're not reflected here. But the remaining members did meet yesterday and went ahead and elected the officer positions. And you can see here where we have president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer that are listed based on the results of that meeting. And so these will be the 4 officer positions moving forward. And of course, the 7 remaining voting members that will be making up the 11-person board next year. Of course, per our bylaws, additional members, non-voting members, can be added based on the board's discretion. But again, this will be the leadership team for our U.S. chapter going forward. I did want a special call out to John Jackson, and I want to thank him for not only his service to our BCI, the BCI chapter, our board. He's been an amazing business partner of mine for almost the entire length of time that I've been on the chapter board, serving as both vice president and our 2020 group committee chair, helping to produce some amazing thought leadership pieces. And so I just wanted to have a special thank you to him, because he's been not only a wonderful volunteer, but a great friend on the board, and he's been of great service to our chapter. So thank you very, very much, John. I really do appreciate all of your work and dedication. Okay, so next on the agenda is the membership summary. And again, we remain the largest BCI chapter globally. And in our certified members, if you compare them to other chapters, we're about 20 to 30% higher than the global average percentage. A couple things I'll call out here on this graph, and I apologize, it's probably a little bit difficult to see, and you can probably, I'll try to explain the comparison here a little bit, is to give you a sense of where we stand in terms of total numbers. So the top circle, the top line, which is green, represents our total membership numbers across everything from affiliates to FBCI levels. And so you can see that we're approximately 1,150 there, and which does represent a pretty significant growth number, primarily driven, as you'll see, by some of the affiliate offers that we've made through DRJ and CI. On the bottom is where we have the certified members. And so in this area, you'll see that our current number is the line, the third line below, which is in gray, and shows a little bit of a drop compared to previous years. But that does change and does fluctuate approximately, I don't know, anywhere from 10 to 25 people per month as people expire and then do renew. I would also attribute some of this to the fact that we have had the website down for about 2 weeks due to the upgrade that's been planned, which I'll talk about in a few moments. And so that does represent a little bit of a dip as we've seen that trend compared to last month. So overall, we continue to see great interest in the BCI, particularly our chapter. And again, I think we've stayed fairly steady on the certification front. But again, I think driven by some increased training, we should expect to see those numbers increase over time. I was just making mention of the fact that, and of course, Alice made mention of the investment that we've made in DRJ and Continuity Insights, which are the 3 conferences that as a chapter we feature fairly prominently as either the training or certification partner, or at least offer training and are a big part of Continuity Insights. And so looking at these numbers, this gives you a sense of where we've gone ahead and signed up additional affiliates, or we've had people express an interest in the alternate route to membership. Those are the people that have the appropriate experience, have a different certification level, and have expressed an interest to apply that to becoming a member of the BCI without having to sit for the certification exam. What you see in the other leads could be, it could be anything from a corporate partnership, or someone that has an interest in another form of engagement with the BCI. And so again, you can see, in particularly the fall, just a couple of weeks ago, where we ended up signing up 96 new affiliates, 33 that expressed an interest in ARM, and about 15 other leads, mainly around the corporate partnership area. So a lot of success, some increased visibility, and certainly the investment being made and the time with DRJ in particular has certainly paid off. Now, Alice also made mention when she talked about the investment that we made back in the February timeframe with traction tools. This was an attempt to use some business operating logic and model to combine with software to help us define vision, values, and focus. Although we committed as a group to spending about a quarter of the year focused on being able to apply those principles, we ended up disbanding and going back to our normal approach. But I don't think that the investment was necessarily bad, because it did help us really bring some focus to what we wanted to go ahead and address over the next 5 years. And so what you're seeing here is just an excerpt of our business plan that we maintain as a board. We submit it to our central office, which also triggers the investment into our chapter. And so to give you an idea of, part of this is the purpose, niche, and the values that we see as a board for our chapter, and certainly the purpose being promoting a resilient world in everything that we do, being able to empower business continuity and resilience professionals to succeed in their organizations and in the profession. And then our chapter values, and these are the things that really are meant to be kind of our guiding posts towards where we want to invest our time and resources. And again, I think a big part of this is being forward-looking, a focus on excellence, and also innovation, and being able to enable collaboration to drive success, driving our professionals to succeed in their different endeavors in the business continuity and resilience space. And so I think that was very helpful to get together in Chicago when we did. Again, it's probably the first time that in the 5 years that I've been on the board that we've all gotten together, most of us got together, and some joining via phone, to really collaborate and bring that focus. We also established kind of our mission and or some statements around a mission statement, if you will, and some of the kind of the key takeaways from that was, again, being able to go ahead and focus on a world-class development, certification, education, network, knowledge management offering. And a lot of that is heavily dependent on the new CRM system and web environment that's being implemented and will hopefully go live next week. And again, I'll show a few screen captures of that here in just a few moments. Being able to encourage and support development of all of our members as business continuity management practitioners, and being able to, again, increase their competence and qualification levels in their organizations. Really driving thought leadership, being able to contribute to standards and professional practices in the United States, which is heavily in the ISO space primarily. And being able to work to influence policymakers, opinion leaders, and other stakeholders on issues here in our geography. Some of our objectives, they kind of echo the mission statement in many ways, but being able to hopefully communicate the value proposition of BCI membership and show the value that being engaged with the BCI, our chapter, and our business partners provides to each person. Certainly, we want to be able to grow membership. It certainly helps be able to go ahead and give us the financial resources to be able to promote business continuity and be able to support our business partners. But really, the goal here is to make sure that our existing members also see the value. And that's why we've spent quite a bit of time collaborating globally towards the implementation of a better online environment to be able to share information and be able to go ahead and engage with others. And again, I think that gets into not only growing, but as I mentioned, retaining members, and hopefully that includes many of the different services, which is research products, mentoring platforms, and the like, that do in fact add value to both very experienced and new members. These were some of the things also that we wanted to demonstrate value with, and being able to continue to promote the different products and services that the BCI has. And the evidence that we focused quite a bit on promoting that in the 3 main conferences that we were involved in, our newsletters, and many of the other ad hoc or recurring emails that go out to membership. And probably the thing we spotlighted the most over the last 12 months was the different research products, white papers that came out of the 2020 group that John led, and to really kind of show the type of information that our members can take back to their organizations to drive continual improvement and promote business continuity. With our partner at DRJ, we focused a number of different efforts on talking about how to make business continuity in the BCI more attractive to millennials. And that started with engaging students at different educational institutes and just anyone else that came to us through the industry. And so we sponsored through the Senior Advanced Track, for example, panels on how to engage with millennials. We put them in front of the room and had them talk about what makes them tick, but also to talk about how they see best engaging with those that have been around for a while. And I thought that was pretty helpful, and we did a number of publications as well. Being able to focus on allowing people to move up from affiliate status to get to the right level of certification to stay engaged with us. And that was certainly important. Helping to provide some ideas on how to build a better networking platform online, because again, that's the primary method of information exchange. So that's where you'll see a number of major improvements to the web environment. We did, again, John engaged many of our members on the 2020 think tank groups and complementing the work that the UK and the Australia New Zealand chapter has been working on. Again, engaging to be able to get those involved in volunteer efforts. And where we saw the most energy, and Jill will talk about this at the end of the meeting, is around our communications efforts, particularly around social media and that LinkedIn, Twitter, and the like. And you'll see some of the significant increases that really get to one of our global objectives, which is to create a community of experts that can collaborate, even if they don't have a direct affiliation with the BCI. And then the remaining areas get into providing good technical information, intellectual property, the mentoring service, which is really, admittedly slow on the uptake, but I suspect with our new web environment and integration in that new web environment, we'll see some uptake there. And again, being able, of course, the thing that most people care most about when they're members of the BCI is the appropriate certification level, and being able to promote the value associated with, again, AMBCI through FBCI. I mentioned that when we got together in February in Chicago and we took a look at being able to really bring some traction and focus to the chapter, we established some 5-year goals. And the 3 goals were to be an authoritative voice for the BCI, be able to really help drive career development, particularly making sure we have the right training delivered at the right time, the right place, making sure credentialing by influencing the global credentialing area is relevant, and be able to promote the Career Center in the networking mentoring space to drive people, whether they're new or whether they've been around for a very long period of time. And then to be able to make sure we had a great experience. And again, I think that a huge part of this, and I'm super excited about when the new web environment does go live next week and the new CRM platform takes place, making the experience relevant to every single individual person. So that will be a significant step forward for all members. We have a number of strategies that align to that. And again, I think from a technology perspective, again, said it 10 times probably already with the website, the CRM area, being able to really influence towards an online learning management system and getting, instead of all the in-person training, but doing more online, influencing that and taking advantage of technology. Being able to promote the content, making sure it's available, having an increased level of level of content in bringing a lot of different sources together in the web environment. Being able to, again, engage our members through social media like they want to be engaged, but also giving relevant targeted email that's relevant to each person where they are in their career. Again, as Alice said, our 3 main areas of engagement are around conferences, the 3 conferences for the U.S., but we're going to look at others as well and other events. And now that once we get past the new launch of the website, being able to go ahead and have webinars, but record them and make them available. And then lastly, to be able to increase and have additional training partners and consulting with them to make sure that they're delivering training where it's needed and when it's needed with, of course, the correct topics. These are some of our measures at the 5-year level. And again, some of these are fairly aspirational. And so we'll work through that to be able to not only look at revenue generated for the BCI to be able to continue its mission, the headcount side of things, being able to continue our march towards 1,400. And again, we've had some good increases over the last 2 years. Again, looking at the BCI website is a really great source to visit for information, not just to renew membership, all the way through our marketing efforts. And again, as I mentioned before, with the new leadership for the BCI globally, a big focus has been really the drive to creating a community, not only of business continuity professionals, but also those that are serving in adjacent disciplines around business continuity and other risk management disciplines, for example. And so the goal here, of course, is to be able to get, to market to those individuals, engage with them through social media, and even in non-membership grades in our new web environment. And so I think if I was to summarize a little bit on the current state of our chapter, for example, we've had slight growth. And again, I'm certainly not going to figure out exactly what the root cause, or I'm not going to speculate what the root cause is, but I will say that based on feedback, I think it is an antiquated web environment. And so I'm hopeful that people will see more the value of BCI membership and engagement when they see the new web environment, find what they're looking for, engage easier, be able to meet others, and obviously to be able to get information relevant to them where they are in their careers. That's huge. That and combined with the good practice guidelines refresh, that's taken a lot of time this year. And so that's really taken away a little bit of our time available to do a lot of the virtual engagement webinars and the like. And so I would expect that we'll see that grow not only in the US, but globally. And hopefully that will market those opportunities globally to all of our members, not just US to US. We also made some progress on the training and education front in terms of new training partners, a discussion on not just technical training like DIA, writing plans, doing exercises, but thinking ahead towards some of the soft skills that will benefit our members, and hopefully the progress will be made to continue to offer those training opportunities to our members. And again, we'll see a lot of improvements here in the online space. And at BCI World next month is when the Good Practice Guidelines, the new version, the 2018 version, will be introduced through both making it available, but also different presentations introducing some of the key changes and further alignment to ISO 22301. I mentioned that we'd go ahead and show you a few, screenshots. And so I took these based on a video the central office provided. And what you see in the upper left after logging in will be a snapshot of what an individual might see. And that could take a look at, as you can see there, it'll be a little bit of a snapshot on their profile, be able to easily update details specific to them, contact information and the like. Being able to track the continuing education, so CPD, which is the blue circle that you see there, being able to log activities that are taking place, engaging on the mentoring platform. You can even see where you'll be having messages between individuals, any groups that you might belong to, any pages within the BCI environment that you want to save that you might want to revisit over time. That's really just your front page. And from there, you'll also see on the far right, this is kind of just more of the main environment once you move past your profile, to be able to go ahead and figure out information relevant to you for BCM, being able to things specific to you, to your organization, and obviously some more additional information about the BCI. Certain elements of that would be profiled again based on your relationship to the BCI. And so again, a lot easier to be able to find content, relevant to you, whether it be white papers, articles, presentations, and certainly we'll be able to engage better at a chapter level with our chapter members too. So really excited about that. And again, not just really a web page refresh, but also, again, thinking about, what you're interested in and making sure that the CRM system is providing content relevant to you. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jill, and Jill's going to go ahead and give a little bit more of some background on where she's seen our work as the communications lead for our chapter, and where we saw some, why ultimately you see a lot of green up arrows, and so Jill's going to talk a little bit about that. So Jill, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Brian. Yes, I echo your information. The new website is going to be very exciting and will really give us a much more effective forum to communicate and share information. And it will tie directly, obviously, in with our mission and global objectives, as you mentioned. So the new website will offer many exciting ways to market, communicate, and engage. It'll be, as you could see from the screenshots previously, it'll be much more user-friendly, offer greater functionality, such as posting blogs, articles, and really will link so that we can share this across our social media channels. As you can see from the slide, social media continues to be a great way to share information and interact with one another. The primary channels we utilize are mainly LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Social media followings have increased across all channels over the past couple of years, as you can see, and we anticipate continued growth as these channels become more heavily utilized, especially as we look to link to some of the new functionality on that enhanced website. Special thanks to our chapter volunteers on the communications committee who have done a terrific job in posting updates and monitoring the social media activity. They're certainly a core group that really keeps our channels flowing, if you will. With that said, we're always looking for more volunteers to write contributions, especially representing U.S. practitioner viewpoints for the website. As we strive to add more value to our members, certainly posting experiences, reviews, just any best practices will really, I think, also add a lot of value for our members and other followers. So once the new website goes live, as Brian mentioned, hopefully next week, we'll look to ramp up our social media activity. And again, we'll strive to link directly to some of that content, the articles, the blogs, etc. So that way you could just click the link and it would take you directly to that social, to the new website, save some steps, if you will. So with that, we're really looking forward to a very exciting year ahead with these new enhancements, and again, looking for any volunteers that may be interested in contributing to our communication efforts. So Brian, with this, I'll turn that back over to you.
Okay, thank you, Jill, and thank you for the update. And it's interesting when we think back on just even before mid-November. I remember when we passed 100 and 200 on the Twitter side of things. It was pretty exciting to get into the triple digits, and as we get closer to 1,000, I think that's great engagement, and it has truly become the #1 way to engage and share updates and the like. So, very, very well done. So thanks, Jill. Okay, so the last thing I'd like to cover was to share with everyone our America's Award winners, and this was the list of both individuals and organizations that won our awards over the last 12 months, and this was both for the United States and Canada. And each of these winners will then represent the Americas in the Global Awards effort. And the winners there will be announced at BCI World at the beginning of November. And so just as a reminder, I know we've already had the first one, which is the Continuity and Resilience Personality of the Year, is one that's voted by membership. And so Tracy won that award this year. And then we've done the global voting, which is already closed. All of the others are voted on by a panel of in this case, now going forward will be a global panel. But again, those that were won in the U.S. were again disinterested, a panel of judges that again didn't represent any individual or organization or members of the board for certain. So anyway, again, I want to congratulate all of our winners this year and certainly wish them luck as they compete globally and with the awards announced next month. All right, so with that, I think we've got through everything in just under 40 minutes. I am going to, just as a warning, I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. So if you're not muted on your end by yourself, just be aware that we'll be able to hear you. I just certainly want to answer any questions that you might have, if any. So again, I've gone ahead and unmuted right now. So if anyone has any questions at all that they want to raise, by all means, please do so at this time.
Hey, Brian, this is not so much a question, but just more of a comment. I appreciate the redesign or the way the website's going to go. It's been probably, I'm not the only one having used sentiment, somewhat challenging finding what we want to find on the current site. And though you can find it, it just takes a little extra effort, and I think it will be a good move.
Oh, I agree. You know what? Even though, and I'll tell you from my perspective, and I think I'm pretty, pretty engaged in a lot of different efforts of the BCI. Even if I was looking for, knew something was out there and was looking for it, it was tough. And so I agree with you. I think this will be a big effort. As we've been talking about as a board, it's really going to be an improvement to, really it's our storefront. And again, not just being at the look and feel to be pretty, if you will, but it's really going to be something that I think will make engagement so much more efficient and effective. So thanks for that comment. Anyone else?
Hey, Brian, this is John Jackson. I think all of the board members over the last couple of years would join me in thanking you personally for your leadership of the chapter. You've done a tremendous amount, both as the president of the chapter. You've worked on the GPG rewrite. You've participated in a lot of meetings over in the UK. So I don't think we should end this meeting without recognizing the tremendous effort that you put in and how much you've meant to the BCI. So just thank you.
No, thanks, John. I appreciate it. It's been incredibly rewarding, and I certainly would encourage others to consider both volunteering either on the board or in other different capacities as their time permits. So, but thank you for your kind words. All right. Well, with that, I think we'll go ahead and close the meeting. Again, we'll have a recorded version of this available on our chapter site when the new website starts. And again, we'll send out the financials and ask for any questions or feedback at that point. But with that, again, thank you for the attendance. Really appreciate it. I hope everyone has a great day. Bye-bye.